Hello and welcome everyone to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host Sam and today you're watching Daily Immigration Dose. That is streaming live at 4 p.m. EST from Monday to Friday in YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook and on X as well. So before moving ahead, let me read out this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you understand that the information shared, including user comments, is not a professional advice, so use of information is at your own risk. Our intention is never to offend, it's just a casual exchange of ideas. All right, friends, once again, welcome back everyone to Daily Immigration Dose. And the topic that we are going to talk in today's session is very important. And it's very timely as well because most of the time we are hearing about Trump's deportation, Trump's policies, and ICE raids, but nobody is talking about its effect, its impact, and especially on the industries. And today we are going to delve into this topic. So, without any further ado, let me tell our today's topic is how do immigration raids affect the industries that depend on immigrant workers? So, before diving into this topic, let me also welcome my co-host Napasa Pradhan, who will be joining me in today's webinar, and we'll share some very insightful discussions, and we'll have a very great discussion on this topic. So, hi Napasa, I hope you had a great weekend, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Sam. Yes, it's lovely being back. And yes, weekends are always great, I think. But nevertheless, it's a new month. So, really looking forward for a whole, productive month ahead with a lot of positivity, I would say. And I hope that this month brings in more hope. I mean, we saw that January ended with a lot of chaos and worry and anxiousness. But let's hope for the best, as things unfold. I hope things just keep getting better. So yeah, with that said, I think we will start off with a few news updates as we always do. So I got a few, Sam, if that's all right. I'm going to start with this first news update, which is about President Donald Trump. He threatens action over Panama Canal, citing Chinese influence. On Sunday, yesterday, US President Donald Trump announced plans to take strong action regarding the Panama Canal, aiming that China has violated an agreement. Trump stated that the critical waterway, which connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, was not meant to be controlled by China. The Panama Canal, which was built by the US, opened in 1914, was handed over to Panama in 1999. President Trump, emphasized that while he does not believe military action will be required, the U.S. would take back control of the canal if necessary. And he added that something very powerful is going to happen soon regarding the situation. The president made it very clear that the canal was not given to China and that this violation will be addressed. Next news update is about Elon Musk, who says Trump supported shutting down USAID. So, yes, Elon Musk recently revealed that during conversations with President Donald Trump, Trump agreed with his idea of shutting down the US Agency for International Development, that is USAID, USAID. Musk shared that Trump mentioned several times that he believed USAID would be closed because of its operations. Musk has been um, critical of USAID for funding causes that he believes promoted left-leaning potential agendas, and Trump has also spoken negatively about the agency in the past, calling it a disaster and accusing it also of being run by radical lunatics. He even hinted that a major decision regarding the agency would be made soon. And Musk's comments are part of the ongoing debate about the role of US aid in US foreign aid. Some people believe it should be reformed or shut down, while others think it plays an important part in global aid efforts. Next news update is about US immigration raids could lead to labor shortages and higher food prices. Well, the Trump administration's recent immigration raids have raised concerns about the United States. The raids focused on undocumented workers, many of whom work in essential industries like farming, meat packing, and dairy. Around 40% of farm workers in the US are undocumented, and deporting them could cause serious labor shortages. Experts warn that this could lead to higher food prices, with costs potentially rising by 5 to 6% each year, worsening inflation. And if the labor shortage continues, it might even cause a recession, affecting both businesses and consumers. Additionally, some migrants arrested during the raids have been released back into the US due to limited space in detention centers and court rules that prevent holding people indefinitely. While ICE continues its enforcement actions, there are still challenges, especially with migrants from countries that refuse to take them back. So, those were a few news updates from my end. And Sam, you should definitely go ahead with some of the news updates from your end.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Napasa, for letting us know about these very important news updates. And friends, I also have a very important and very latest news updates, and that's about the protest on LA. So there are thousands protest on LA freeway against Trump's immigration policies. So it's about like there are thousands of people who blocked a busy freeway to show that they are against President Donald Trump's immigration policies. And they were protesting because they don't like the way the government is ruling right now. They are not liking the way the Trump's administration is, delivering those executive orders, and that is why they do this. They tried to have a protest, and on Sunday morning there were thousands of people who gathered in Los Angeles to protest as they were upset about President Trump's immigration policies. And these policies are about how the government deals with people who don't have permission in the US to live legally. And some people think that these rules are unfair, so they decided to take action against it. And the protest started at a place called Olvera Street in downtown Los Angeles around 9 a.m. The protesters held Mexican flags and signs, and they said things like, "No human is illegal on stolen land." And that's a very effective statement. And also, they said, "Fight ignorance and not immigrants." They were showing their support for immigrants and speaking out against how the government treats them. The protest quickly grew bigger, and within 30 minutes, the police had to close down some streets because the protesters were blocking traffic. So it's a very huge incident that took place on Sunday, and the protesters then decided to walk onto the 101 freeway, one of the busiest highways in the Los Angeles. And this caused a huge traffic problem because the freeway was completely blocked due to these protesters. And some people even sprayed graffiti on the freeway walls and damaged a car that got stuck in the crowd. The police had to arrive in special gear to try and get the protesters to leave the freeway. So we are not very much sure like why is it happening, what is the exact reason behind it, but we are sure that these protesters are not liking the way how Trump's administration is leading its administration. And moving ahead, I have some other news as well, and that's about UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer aims for strong trade ties with the US amid Trump's tariff plans. So, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has expressed his desire to strengthen trade relations with the US. And this comes after US President Donald Trump suggested imposing tariffs on Europe, just like the way he said to impose tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. So, in a recent statement, Starmer shared that in the discussions I have had with President Trump, we have focused on building a strong trading relationships, and it's still early days. So Trump also mentioned that he would not impose tariffs on the UK right away. And he said that Prime Minister Starmer has been very nice. We are getting along very well, and we will see if we can balance our trade. So this we can see a better relationship towards the UK and the USA. And this marks the beginning of early trade talks between the UK and USA, both as the leader aims to solidify a very positive economic relationship with each other. Moving ahead with my next news is about Venezuelans risk losing deportation relief in the US. So there's another very major news that's happening with the Venezuelans, and more than 300,000 Venezuelans living in the US might lose their protection from being sent back to Venezuela. As this protection, called TPS, temporary protected status, helps them to stay in the US without having any fear to deport themselves. And the US government is planning to end this TPS for Venezuelans. That means there's a complete risk for their deportation. And this means that they could be sent back to their home country. Some people may still have protection until September, but after that, things are very uncertain and very unsure. This decision is part of a bigger plan by the government to reduce the number of people who are allowed to stay in the US under TPS. So, this is also going to affect them a lot, and not only the other people, the other communities, but also the Venezuelans who also have one of the highest population in the US as an immigrant. So they are also going to get affected with this new Trump's administration a lot. And moving ahead with my next news is about Trump's administration's tough immigration measures lead to more deportations of Chinese nationals. So the US government is now deporting more people from China who are living in the US without legal permission. And the government is making it easier to send them back home by working more closely with the Chinese government. Some Chinese nationals are also being sent back faster through a process called expedited removal. So, this is actually a process that skips the usual long court process and makes it easier for them to have, easier deportation. The Trump administration has been focusing on making it quicker and easier to deport people who are living in the US illegally. So we can see how Trump's administration is aggressively and very impactfully taking these steps and trying so hard to deport the illegal immigrants. And today, I think we are going to talk about those things only, not only who are the people who will be deported, but also the industries, like what industries are going to be affected if these immigrants are going to be deported. What impact will be on those industries? What are those industries? And also, how many people will be working over there, and how is it going to lead in the US, especially how it's going to affect the US economy. So there are lots of discussion that we are going to proceed, and with that, I think these were some of the news updates. So Napasta, I think without any further ado, we should start our session and just go with our
Absolutely.
very first information. So please go ahead and share the first information that you would like to know our viewers about.
Sure, I would. But I will just say hello to Sachin. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for commenting. I mean, it'll be really nice to have you on call. So why not, folks out there? This is you can join us very freely on call as well. Apart from commenting, it'll be very nice to get to know you. So you can call us on this number 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. So note it down and call us once again 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. So you'll find the information above on the screen. So join us. It'll be very nice to know you. So, apart from that, yes, we have, as Sam has already introduced, the topic of discussion for today. What impact are US immigration raids having on industries that rely heavily on immigrant workers? So, yes, first off, the recent immigration crackdown under President Trump's administration is really sending shockwaves across multiple industries that are, heavily dependent on immigrant workers and immigrant labor. So it's not just in the country, but this has ripple effects across the globe because, so many people from different corners of the world flock into this country, America, to, work, save up, and do the best they can, not only for themselves, but also their loved ones who are back home or with them here in the country. So yes, with federal agencies, tasked with developing measures to control inflation. Experts warn that mass deportations and immigration restrictions may have the opposite effect, causing a labor shortage, driving up wages and even ultimately leading to inflation, well, in key sectors. And of course, the administration, on the other hand, they claim that these measures will benefit US workers. The reality may be far more complex than just that. So today, yes, we are going to explore more on, how these policies are reshaping industries like agriculture, construction, hospitality, and more, and what this means for businesses or even consumers out there, and also the broader economy as a whole. So, yes, I think the first point I really want to mention is how immigration crackdowns can drive up inflation. One of the biggest concerns raised by economists is the link between immigration and inflation. So, of course, a sudden reduction in the labor supply means businesses will struggle to find workers, right? Which also leads to increased wages. So, while this might seem like a positive outcome for American workers, it can have, very unintended consequences as well, something nobody ever thought of. And when businesses pay higher wages, they pass those costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices, right? And this itself, in particular, concerning industries, whether you talk about agriculture, construction, hospitality, where margins are already tight, it becomes the more basically the more difficult it becomes to fill positions, the greater is the risk of inflation across multiple sectors. So if businesses cannot offset their costs, they cannot meet their costs, some may even be forced to shut down, which is really, really scary, and reducing competition and even further increasing the prices. So that's one point I want to make. um, Sam, if you're there,
Right.
like, anything you want to say also?
I think yeah, you have already given us a gist about like how it could be, and I think it's really going to be very tough time for the US because every 1 out of 20 people are immigrant, right, in the US, and they are not working only in the high tech companies, they're not working in a very good companies and in Silicon Valley, but there are so many immigrants who are actually working on construction sectors, then agricultural sectors, and restaurants as well. So these three sectors or the industries are really very, very important for any nation, right? And it's like one of the major industries. And these three major industries are going to be get affected because mostly we have seen that there are lots of immigration, I mean immigrants in these three industries, and they are there. And it's also irreplaceable because it's not very easy. If we talk about agriculture, then they have to do a lot of manual labor work and they have to work so hard. There needs so much physical work over there. They have to, I mean, it's not only about the machine, they have to work everything by using their hands. So it's a
Yeah.
very tough job and it's a very hard working. And most importantly, they pay less, they get payment at very less.
Hmm.
So it's very difficult in US for any US born citizen to try in the agricultural sector because they will obviously try to have a better, I mean not a very easy job going, but at least a comfortable job. Like they want to work in AC air conditioner room, to have a proper wi-fi connection, to have at least a better room. They don't want to work in the ground, they don't want to have those I would say a sweating kind of thing, and they don't want to work in very bad weather. But whereas the immigrants, they prefer to work on those conditions because they have to survive in the US anyhow. So they agree to work on those conditions as well with less money, with less, I would say, luxurious life. There's no luxurious life of them. It's just the surviving thing that they have over there. So it's a very important thing, that if the immigrants are going to be deported, then these three sectors are really going to be get affected a lot because there will be very, I mean, labor shortages. So this is something very major, and even after that, if the US companies will try to hire more laborers or more workers in America, then I think they have to increase the prices that they need to pay to those laborers, right? There will be higher wages. And if there will be higher wages, then automatically the product that's going to be, I mean, given to the consumers, I mean, that product will also increase its price a lot.
Right.
So automatically the inflation will rise a lot. I mean, raise a lot. So it's
Yeah.
going to be very difficult. It's going to be very challenging, and most importantly, the economy will really. I don't know whether it's going to be shattered or whether it's going to be built, but it will be very impactful, and that's for sure. So
Yes,
this
it
is
will be impacted.
right.
Right, right. And to add to your points, especially when you talk about agriculture, we see, that they really are very important people. The workers play a very important role, whether you talk about, harvesting labor-intensive crops, you talk about strawberries, even citrus fruits, they all require significant human labor, attention for that matter. And without them, farms are going to struggle for sure to meet the demand. And of course, in turn, leading to food shortages and price hikes as well. And I'm sure, that consumers, they will see these effects in the first fresh produce section itself, where fruits and vegetables that require hand picking
Yeah.
would become uh, very expensive. It's going to be very expensive. And if they will not be doing the hand picking, then who is going to? And just talk about farms, just normally, if they cannot find workers willing to do those jobs, then even with higher wages, some of these crops may actually rot in the fields, right? If even
Absolutely.
if they are, like you said, no, they may not prefer doing jobs like them, like these, working in the fields. So if there'll be no one to cater to the fields, that means some crops will just rot, before these produce can be actually used properly or brought to the market even, and leading to, of course, wastage of food and further supply of chain disruptions. There's going to be a lot of damage done, not just to the crops, but like you said, it's going to affect everything, even
Absolutely.
the economy.
Right. It's not only, people are thinking that deportation is happening. Now, all the illegal immigrants are going to be deported and they'll be sent back to their home countries. And that's for sure because, I mean, it's fair enough that they have to be sent back to their home country. But the other side that's going to be very impactful and that's going to be affected a lot is also the US industries. And, these three industries, especially the restaurants, I mean, not the industries, but the work culture in US, like everywhere, restaurants, construction, agriculture, farming, small works, that mostly people try to like sweeping the floor, then serving in waitress, or maybe plucking up the fruits, or maybe just these things, these small things that just requires a very time limit kind of work, because it's not possible for everyone to work for as a waiter or as a waitress for 3 years or 4 years. That just needs for 6 months or one year maximum. So these are very
Mhm.
temporary jobs, that mostly immigrants do. And there are no other people who try to, especially the US born citizens, they won't prefer these jobs. And these are the jobs that are not very much respectful, I would say, but are really, essential for any industry, for any company. Because these are the small people, small laborers who really make those industries a better one and increase the economy of that industry or that company as well. Even if we take the example of restaurants, then there are so many people, especially the students, the F1 students. Those are the immigrants, and they work over there just to earn, just to have a better financial condition, right? So that they don't have to be dependent upon their parents regarding
Mhm.
the. So they do I mean, those jobs, and those jobs are really getting like a good economy in the restaurants, and they're having a good package over there. So it's helping them as well. But if they are not going to work, then I think it's going to impact a lot. It's going to affect them a lot in a very negative way. So
Mhm.
that's what I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, of course, every job is respectful and it's very dignified. Even so is agriculture. But it just happens that farmers and their families, especially these farmers who have children, they know what the struggle is, and they always want to make sure that their children do not become farmers, right? I mean, that's the case, I think, in almost all the countries. So what they do is they try to educate them so that they will not have to be farmers. But then on the other hand, there are people who are doing these laborious work. I mean, some are doing it because they are passionate about it, because they want to work for it. But the others are also doing because they have no other way. And maybe they had to teach themselves to learn how to do this very well, how to farm, and to be able to earn a living for themselves and their families. So yes, I mean, If these workers will not be there, then who is going to be working in those fields?
Right. Absolutely. And I think, Nipasa, as we are leading towards a discussion, I think let's take some of our viewers' comment as well. So I can see Sachin, I can see Sakshi. So thank you so much, friends, for joining us. And you can also dial this number 425 with the access code 9 and 5 times 8. Please do join this call and let us know what do you think about today's discussion or else anything about Trump's administration or any particular your I would say perception regarding the US or how you're feeling right now. Okay, so let's take Sachin's comment. If an immigration raid were to happen at one of my company's location, what immediate legal actions should I take to protect my employees and business? I think this is a very expert advice kind of question. And for that, I would recommend Sachin, to please go ahead and ask this question in one of our I would say a live webinar because there we get expert advice with legal immigration attorneys. So it's very impactful, it's very helpful and insightful as well. So we are definitely going to take this question in our live session and
Yes,
we'll be
but I think what we can do is, I mean, know your rights. So, best consult an attorney for sure. But nevertheless, know your rights, and you have the right to be silent. And yes, I mean, a raid, they cannot just come into your office and do the raid just like that. They will have to have a warrant. So make sure that they have that. And you have the right to not answer whatever they ask because you have the right to remain silent. And also that, you can. Well, sorry, I was just getting a call, but yeah, right to remain silent, and you can tell them that you will answer to them when you have a legal attorney, your attorney, a representative.
right. I think that would be perfect. Okay, so Nipasa, why don't you go ahead and take the other comment or the other question of Sachin?
Sure. So Sachin saying, how can industries that rely on immigrant labor advocate for better protection or reforms to avoid disruptions caused by immigration enforcement actions?
Advocate for better protection or reforms. Um, I think it's a quite complicated
Yeah.
question. Is it? Let me check how can industries that rely on immigrant labor advocate for better protection or reform to avoid disruption caused by immigration. Okay, okay, all right. So, Sachin, thank you so much for this question. It would be better if you could little simplify this question, but that's okay. So, currently, as the immigration system is going, as the immigration policies are being changed, there's no confirmation, there's no guaranteed about like how you are going to work on those betters and how the industries are going to rely on these immigrant labor advocate. But for sure, today our session is on this only. So we are going to share lots of information regarding it and how much is it going to impact those industries. Then what will be the reasons behind like how everything is going to be. So stay connected and stay tuned and watch this webinar till the end because I'm sure you will be filled with lots of insights at the end of the session. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe also to Immigration Talk Show and participate in this session, not only in this session, but in each and every session that's very insightful, especially that we do with our attorneys. So make sure to stay connected and make sure to watch those sessions as well. All right, and let's move ahead with next one. And Sakshi Napasa, please go ahead and take this Sakshi's comment.
Sure. Sakshi is saying sensationalized headlines about the small number of law-breaking immigrants will not change the fact that entire industries, from construction and healthcare to agriculture, restaurants, and elder care, rely on immigrant labor. Immigrants increasingly fill a job gap in the healthcare industry. Nearly 2.8 million immigrants account for more than 18% of that industry's workforce. And millions of them fill critical roles for physicians and surgeons, 26% registered nurses, dental hygienists, and home health aides. The latter estimates range from 27 to almost 40%.
Wow.
So thank you so much, Sakshi. Those were great points that you have mentioned. And yes, absolutely. So these are gaps that are filled with immigration by immigrants. Sorry. So how will all these sectors work without these? Who is going to fill in these jobs? And there's going to be a huge gap that is going to be created, and
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's going to affect everybody in it for sure.
Absolutely. And I would say thank you, Sakshi, so much. I think it's a very detailed and it's a very specific stats that you have placed here. And you also let us know how many immigrants are working in specific healthcare industry. So we can see that healthcare is actually the backbone of every nation, right? And without healthcare, there's nothing. And we can see there are so many, I think nearly 2.8 million immigrants account for more than 18% of that industry's workforce. And he also mentioned that physicians and surgeons are 26%, the nurses, dental hygienists, and home health aides are 27 to 40% almost. And that's a huge number. That's really a huge number, right? We can't be just ignoring these numbers. So
Yes.
I think thank you so much, Sakshi, for being this specific and making us also aware about these specific stats. So I think yeah, we have taken all our comments and we have already talked about Sachin's and Sakshi's comment. So I think I would also like to tell our viewers that it's not that many industries are dependent on immigrant labor, like hotels, landscaping, then grocery stores, especially the grocery stores. I think, Natasha, we have seen so many immigrants who are selling anything, like maybe the toys, maybe the paintings, maybe they just go ahead in a grocery store and be a salesperson or salesman, and they do those jobs, and those are very temporary, and those are very, I would say, just timely, right? And they also get less payment over there, and they are not having a very, I would say, they don't save a lot of money from that, but still they are working over there. And right now we can also see how aggressively Trump's administration is putting on those deportation cases related to especially the illegal ones.
Yes.
So I think it's a very high time, and it's I don't know whether it's how it's going to be impacting, but it's very sad that there are some people who don't deserve this much harshness in their journey, but still they have to face it. So
Yes.
it's quite heartbreaking. It's quite emotional, but that's the law. That's the rule that we can't do anything about it. And yeah, I think that's all I would like to say about today's conclusion.
Yes, absolutely. And when you say grocery stores, not just that, I mean convenience stores as well. Reminds me of this series, Superstore, where we actually see really, I mean, immigrants working in it from different countries, of course. Well, with that said, also we just have another viewer. We don't want to keep her, like on
Yeah.
hold. So I'll just read out the comments. Manisha is saying on Sunday, Operation Safeguard began in Chicago with US. I, ICE announcing enhanced targeted operations along with multiple federal agencies to enforce U.S. immigration law and preserve public safety and national security. Some children some children aren't going to school. People are skipping medical appointments. There is a reason to fear. Last week, President Donald Trump issued executive orders that allow officials to arrest immigrants at schools, daycare centers, hospitals, shelters, places of worship, and other sensitive locations previously considered off limits.
Mhm.
That is so true. I mean, what we've been seeing in the past few days, in the past week, it's crazy, and it's definitely getting many people not just anxious but fearful that they are not able to perform well, whether at school or at work. They are not even attending them for that matter. So, yes, the whole country, especially the immigration scene, I mean, immigrant scene out there, out here in America, is getting, I mean, scarier, you can say. But I mean, what can I say? The Trump administration really ramps up immigration enforcement, and the consequences of industries also that rely on immigrant workers are becoming increasingly very clear. We have been speaking about this: agriculture, construction, hospitality, and food services. They're all facing labor shortages, rising costs, and even potential business closures. So, what is going to happen next? I mean, imagine so many businesses out there, they're just being shut off because of labor shortage. How is how will anything, I mean, so many things function, right?
And that
So
may happen.
the administration argues that these policies will help American workers, but the reality is that, mass deportations could lead to higher prices, job losses, and even slower economic growth. And the question, moving forward is whether businesses and policymakers can find a middle ground that balances enforcement with the need, to sustain a functional labor market, or especially in the coming months, the impact of these policies will really be seen and will be more and more evident, shaping the economic landscape, for years to come. So I just hope that it's going to get better. Fingers crossed, really.
Absolutely. I think everyone is hoping the same. And with that, I think Napasa, we already covered a lot of information, right? So I think we should wrap up now. What say?
For sure. But before we do that, I would really ask folks out there, to like, share, and subscribe to us. Don't forget to hit that bell icon. We are Immigration Talk Show. We are on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, even Instagram. So connect with us, follow us, and it'll be really nice to know your story as well. If you are an immigrant yourself here in America, and you are facing anything you want to share with us, it'd be really nice to know your story as well. So yes, don't forget to subscribe to YouTube at Immigration Talk Show. All right, and with that, daily immigration dose is from Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So, me and Sam are going to join you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, folks out there, take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful Monday and also a splendid week ahead.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It was really great, and I hope that this session would be helpful. At least you guys get a gist of what are the industries that may be affected and how is it going to be affected. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And stay tuned, stay connected. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Immigration Talk Show. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm Sam, and my co host is Nabasa, who are signing off for now. So, goodbye and take care.